being recognized and celebrated during the year. Families and friends are always grateful when the ministry representatives turn up to recognize these persons who have given so much to the state over the years. We will be also focusing on the completion of the elder policy and the commencement of its implementation. Madam President, I am happy to report that Father Hilarion Home at St. Patrick's will once again open its door to provide care for the elderly. The government has taken the decision to provide the subvention to help them to make that possible. We know over the COVID period, only two that survived, most of the persons there died, the elderly, and the home was closed. So we have stepped forward and provided a subvention so that they can open. Early childhood. The government of Grenada, through my ministry, has direct responsibility for 10 child development centers across the 7 parishes. Research across the world have concluded that more than 200 million children under the age of 5 are not reaching their full cognitive and social, emotional potential. This may be as a result of the exposure to multiple risk factors such as poverty, malnutrition, and an unstimulating home environment. Early childhood cognitive and social emotional development is a strong indicator that predicts later school enrollment and life success. The loss of these potentials can result in decline in the individual total income over his life or her life. And this, at times, is the beginning of poverty. So we are ensuring that the early childhood caregivers are more trained, are more committed, and are more prepared to make the early interventions of early stimulation so that the young children could have a good start in life. The role of the early childhood unit is critical for the development of our children and, by extension, the development of our nation. Key to achieving this agenda is the ministry's responsibility to ensure that all daycare centers across the island, private as well as public, is operating according to established standards. Madam President, in 2023, the ministry will be developing a national childcare strategy, policy, and action plan, and formulating licensing authority for daycare service providers. This main emphasis will be placed on improving the early childhood standards of care throughout the country. And we want to work along with them to ensure that the standards are kept. We want to ensure that what takes place at the center is what we are expecting, and we will make periodic visits. I have been going around along with my senior management team to visit some of those centers. And when I went to one center in particular, the matron, the person in charge, was saying to me that is the first time she sees a minister visiting the center, and she's been there for 20 years. So I think we need to let workers know that we care. We want the workers to know that we have their interests, and I think from time to time, we have to be there with them to hear their concerns, to listen to their suggestions, and to ensure that when we plan with them in mind, because they have ideas, they have suggestions and they have information to share with us. Madam President, I move on to support for education, empowerment, and development.
Honorable Senator, thank you so much for your interesting presentation. You have just inside 15 minutes left. Thank you.
Thank you. My government has decided to continue the vertical expansion of seed program, which was scheduled to end in December of this year. This therefore means that family will continue to receive the additional $150 per household. Madam President, we will also be completing the recertification of all beneficiaries' household to determine how many families' socioeconomic conditions have improved and therefore no longer need seed support. This process will capture the legitimate entries of persons who do not qualify. This will facilitate a system purge, which will provide the fiscal space to accommodate persons who are in genuine need of the support. So while it is believed that we're cutting social protection programs, we know that after we will have done the assessment, we'll be purging. And the excess that should not be there will be cut off. We will also be reviewing the targeting tool of the program informed by recent data. The Grenada Living Condition Index is a tool used to identify the socio-economic and living conditions of households. It is designed with the objective of having an accurate approximation of the characteristics and living condition of the households. Households are classified into 5 living conditions: non-vulnerable, vulnerable, least deprived, mid-deprived, and most deprived. The GLCI consists of a single matrix score that aggregates 22 variables through 7 dimensions of quality of life. Demographics and health vulnerability, childhood conditions, household educational environment, access to educational services, labor conditions, resources at home, dwelling condition, and access to dwelling services are some of the dimensions that are looked at when the assessment is being done. I am happy to announce that we have already secured the funding from the World Bank to support a consultancy for the recalibration of the GLCI. Madam President, we'll also be placing significant emphasis on improving the empowerment focus of the program to support beneficiaries' graduation. Seed by Design is supposed to focus on improving the socioeconomic conditions of beneficiary families. Currently, the program has core responsibility, which include monthly school attendance of over 90% for children and health checks for all beneficiaries, which is prescribed according to age. So we have to start working closely with school attendance officers. They have complained that they were not involved and they was not included. They had no access to the list of beneficiaries, and they are willing to work along with our ministry to ensure that persons who receive the assistance is indeed living up to their responsibility. And in the case of children, ensuring that you have at least 90% attendance. These core responsibilities are important. However, there is a need to increase the monitoring of these core responsibilities and incorporate new strategies to complement the education and health outcomes. We need to provide multidimensional support and to inspire beneficiaries to take personal initiatives that will enable them to rise above their socio-economic challenges. Madam President, our focus in 2023 will be placed on developing a graduation strategy to facilitate beneficiaries' empowerment and exit out of seed program. Additionally, we will be focusing heavily on educating the public about the program with specific focus on sensitization about its objectives, its target population, and the core responsibilities, bearing in mind that beneficiaries should also take responsibility for their own development. The SEED program is supposed to provide the enabling environment and support mechanism to facilitate the development of families. The empowerment of beneficiaries should take them from a state of dependence on the social protection system and move them on the path to a positive upward trajectory where mainstream support is no longer needed. This will assist the less fortunate among us with achieving the new Grenadian dream of sustainable development and the creation of generational wealth. Currently, the program provides cash transfer for over 5,000 beneficiaries and over 9,500 individuals. So 5,000 is for households and 9,500 is for individuals. The psychosocial unit. Madam President, the need for psychosocial interventions have been on the rise over the last few years. This reality has been further exacerbated after the onset of the pandemic. Our coping and defense mechanisms have been significantly challenged as a result of this reality. Therefore, our focus will be placed on increasing our potential to deliver these services and educating the public on the importance of mental health. For the period January to November 2022, the unit has assisted 513 persons, which represents a 14% increase when compared to the same period 2021. Housing. An amount of $17,605,735 has been allocated for housing. Madam President, in 2023, my government will continue to deliver the housing program with intent to improve targeting and monitoring mechanisms to ensure that support is given to those who need it most, and the materials that are used are intended for the purpose, for the intended purpose. For the period January to November 2022, the ministry, through the House Repair and Material Assistance Program, assisted 1,334 families. And through the Bathroom and Toilet Program, assisted 421 families. A total of 1,755 families received assistance from both programs. 465 more than compared to the same period last year. I want to move on to community development. Madam President, my government recognizes the need to ignite community spirit, patriotism, and nationalism in our lovely Tri-Island state. In 2023, as a first step, we'll be properly staffing the Division of Community Development to implement our plans and programs geared towards transforming the lives of Grenadians. 15 community development officers will be employed who will serve as the link between the community and the ministry for the execution of various programs and projects. The ministry will work closely with communities in formulating community development organizations, which will be responsible for the management of community centers and designing and executing programs aimed at the upliftment of the communities. Madam President, we expect community centers to be buzzing with activities geared at transforming lives. Community centers mustn't be seen as somewhere where you make dance to response. So we want to change that perception and ensure that we use the community center to develop our people. Madam President, we expect the community center to be buzzing with activities. We have the Youth Potential for Excellence Program HYPE, which is a mentorship program, and we will be using the Mary Ann Community Center as a pilot location for that program. HYPE is developed around the concept of providing alternative adult support and guidance to children in conflict with the law. The vision is that through the mentor-mentee relationship, mentors will foster positive behaviors which will facilitate the mentee's transition from exhibiting deviant behaviors to fulfilling their true potential. The program objective is to protect the right of at-risk youth, to prevent and divert them from being in contact with the formal justice system, to rehabilitate juvenile offenders, and to facilitate a reduction in offending behaviors, and by extension, have fewer juveniles serving custodial sentences. Madam President, we need to start focusing on working together to achieve our common national goals and collective benefits.
Senator, pardon me, how much longer do you anticipate?
30 seconds. Let us put our differences, put aside our differences, purge our society from the instruments of division, and begin seeing each other as an extension of ourselves. We are a small society, which makes this reality even more possible. We need to aspire, build, and advance as one people, one nation, under God. I thank you.
Senator Thomas Samuel, thank you for your comprehensive tour de force of your ministry, your outlook for 2023, and your absolute capacity to stay within seconds of your time. Thank you. Next, please. Brave soul. Senator Roderick St. Clair.
Yeah, sorry about that, Madam President. I want to first start this morning by saying good morning to everyone in the chamber, listening online, on the radio, and my colleagues here. Of course, I want to use this opportunity to commend all those who have presented before. It's a lot of work. You know, folks might be on the outside just watching and think it's easy. It's a lot of reading, 400 and something page documents and so on. So it's a lot, and we have to commend ourselves for the time amongst all of our other busy schedules to really dedicate for this important task for our citizens, both here and abroad. I want to say further, I express thanks to the farmers and the fishers and others connecting to the agriculture and fishery sector for having the confidence to have me continue to represent them in this session of the Parliament. And I say thank you to them. It's a privilege, I wouldn't say it's an honor, it's a privilege, because there are many others on the outside who could have been standing here. And so I don't treat this lightly. Secondly, I want to also express a sort of national condolence, if you want to say, to many of our farmers, fishers, their families who have passed. A lot have been passing. I don't want to call their names. And so it's something that we have to be mindful about, particularly with a very aged farming and fishing community. And of course, I was listening to Senator Thomas speaking, and the emphasis on not youth, but the children, because the youth are old already. By the time we have to make sure that the younger ones, for the continuity, is in place. So I was very happy to hear the emphasis and the focus, and they must not be left out of the discussion. So I wanted to say this, bearing in mind those who have passed. I want to say further that, Madam President and colleagues, that this budget is not about a budget for the farmers, for the fisherman, for the school teacher, for the footballer, for the banker. It's a budget that is for all of us who live in Grenada and also who are connected to Grenada. So I don't want us to lose sight of that. It's not an NMP budget, our NDC budget, our labor budget, our farmers budget, our businessman budget. It is a law that will be formed at the end of the day that binds all of us to live with in this country. So I don't want us to lose sight of that. So it's important that those listening in on from the outside understands what this is. And our role here, as I perceived, is to represent at the best we can, showing the different perspectives, the different considerations, notwithstanding what was presented, that we may not be able to change a figure, really and truly, if you look at the history. But there will be some consideration along the way, in the way certain things are implemented, executed for the benefit of all. And so that is the context I stand here as I represent the voice of farmers and fishers. And I say this to say, Madam President, that as I look at the theme which guides this whole discussion, Vision 2035, and I was so happy to see this because I've been calling for this, the Vision 2035 connected to our National Sustainable Development Plan. That didn't come out from nowhere, that existed. Several Grenadians, hundreds of Grenadians locally and in the diaspora would have contributed to that big document of, I think, a few, maybe almost 100 pages plus, that I've read myself, that I've seen the distillation of so much different information from it, and in particular paying attention to my sector, agriculture, fisheries, connecting, and see what it has been offering. So I was happy to see that first part. And then the other part that speaks about the people-centered transformation, laying the foundation, empowering the growth. It is all within the context of what this plan laid out. So the theme makes sense, because if there is nobody, why you even need a budget? Who will spend the money? Who are you spending it on? So you must have the people. So structurally, I think it's on point. At the same time, Madam President, I always find myself doing this. I normally write some things, and I learned something saying that you always sometimes read the last chapter, the last page in a book, and then you'll get an idea what took place. And so I always find myself doing that. I find myself putting my notes together. I wouldn't really read much of the notes, but I need to sort of reference here. The farming, fishing community, we have to think beyond that. What we do, what our sector do, is ensuring that when maybe 12:30 here come today, we can all run up in the lunchroom and get food to eat. That is why I'm standing here, to ensure that whatever is done within this country can facilitate more food being available by our people, for our people. And we must not lose sight of that. It's not about where the money is that ensuring that food is on the table. That is what we want to do. And that is why, despite all the challenges, our farmers and fishers, they do it for the love. They do it to feed themselves in desperate times, and also for others. And of course, they would make money in the process as well. But the first thing they want to make sure is that they could feed themselves. And I say this to say because for the last 3 or 4 years, pandemic, Ukraine war, people start talking about crisis. But if you go back to my grandparents and my father and those people like that, crisis in 1974 during the whole Gary era, I remember those days, a food crisis. So this is nothing new. So we shouldn't be worrying about this food crisis how much years afterwards. The question is, what have we done? And what are we going to do differently? And the question is whether or not this budget and this presentation would lay the foundation, because we wouldn't solve the problem in one time, lay the foundation so that we can be able to not see that in the past. And of course, the children that our dear Sister Thomas speak about wouldn't have to worry about what we're worrying about today. So the President General of the United Nations, which Grenada is a member of, signing treaties and so on, Mr. Antonio Guterres, I just wanted to say something from him. Some of it we all may know. He speak about hunger. He said global hunger levels is very high. He said that 135 million in the pre-pandemic. Today, it is 276 million. We ain't talking money, we are talking money in millions. Here we speak about millions in people. So we know what is. He speak about famine has increased by over 500% in 2016. But then he says, he offers some solutions, and one of those solutions is governments must bolster agriculture production. And agriculture is in its broadest context. And invest in resilient food systems that protect smallholder food producers. This is significant. And so it is in this sort of context I'm also seeing this presentation. How does it fit? And he says further, before I go into my real presentation, this is just the preface. Ending hunger is within our reach, so it's good. But unless, and but always means whatever went before, ignore it. But unless we solve this problem today, we face the specter, big word, of global food shortages in the coming months. And that was in March 20 this year. Our only chance for lifting millions of people out of hunger is to act together urgently and with solidarity. I think, Madam President, maybe I need say no more. I think it speaks volumes. However, I still need to speak on this. I have this responsibility. And so I like to always have a theme with which I present. It sort of keeps me in check. And the thing about it is that it's a simple theme. I thought it was a Proverbs, but I was doing some research and it's something related to Shakespeare. I don't know how true that is. I was never a good student of literature. But it speaks about, while the grass is growing, the horse is starving. And I tried to figure out, well, where does that fall? I've listened to the presentation of my dear friend, Senator, Leader of Government Business. The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, is our main ministry to ensure that food is produced, our farmers, the whole sector is supplied. Notwithstanding the plans, which I will speak about in a while, which I really like those plans. These 5 or 6 months that we were waiting, the grass is growing. And this is the concern. I think something could have been done. Maybe something was done, but I didn't hear it. In other words, if I'm here right now and I get a cut and I'm bleeding, would you try to build a hospital or to send someone on a scholarship while I continue to bleed? Well, of course, we know those things take time. And bleeding, the rate of bleeding can be significant. So I say this to say that something could have been done. Something could have been done for many farmers who would have lost crops during that time. I love the energy and the description about the pre-larceny. First time I've heard a minister really have that war thing, and I really commend you on that. Seriously, I fully support that, the effort. I will speak some more about that at the voice tone. But many farmers have lost many things. In fact, I heard someone say they didn't realize the pre-larceny unit they closed down in the ministry because the statement was to get it back up and running. Personally, I mean, I'm familiar with a lot of those things, and I don't think it's closed down. I think it's just on a loop. Right? I don't think it's closed down. I'll talk some more about that. So this is the concern about this horse starving. It's a concern, the issue of the farm machinery. And I'm not saying it's this government or that government, I'm just saying. And I know there's work started. So I commend again, and I will speak to all of that. Madam President, in terms of the horse starving, and I also heard that the UE and this study was done to look at the restructuring of the Ministry of Agriculture. But this is a problem that existed a long time, and all of we have been crying out about that. I mean, persons who have been following me, in fact, for the records, because I heard my dear friend speaking yesterday that why I didn't raise those things. But if you look at my history, I was happy yesterday because a lot of the issues I've been raising, I've been calling for, and hearing them, I heard them that they would be addressed. Okay? So I'm very happy. I mean, that's issues I've been raising even before now. before this current session. So it's not new. These are things that existed long. But what I'm saying, Madam President, is that advertisement for these 7 or 8 or 9 or so established positions within the public service, unless we plan to stop it, I don't know. These are senior positions. At least there could have been advertisement out in the meantime. Maybe there is. I didn't see any. I don't know, because maybe there is. Because by the time you try to hire persons, about a month for applications to go out, another month or so to do interviews, maybe the persons you want to hire, they need to get leave time from the job, they have notice to give. We're in May, June, you know. Unless there is other ways to get it done, I'm not too sure. Because you don't want somebody come for 2 months and they go, you want persons who can be there. Of course, I know it is be said that we have challenges with persons wanting to take scholarships and want to study. This is a story I heard before. I asked deep questions. I was given responses as to who studied where, when. So we need to look at that. There are persons who are in the diaspora. I'm sure if they have, if they see the advertisement, they might be willing to even apply and come and add to the force so that we can be able to receive those gifts that is and I don't say promised, that were offered. So this one I think is a real burning one, and I'm worried about it. I'm very worried about it. I think too, Madam President, another worry, and maybe it's a good worry, as I look at the budget of the Ministry of Agriculture, well, I don't know about the more and less and all of those things. I'm not going into that. I'm going into when I use my calculator, what I add up. And what I add up, and it's funny, you know, because I don't really have a calculator, I'll be using the one on the phone. So if it's not calibrated properly, excuse me. But what I is getting is somewhere about 39, 40 million dollars within the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, cooperative budget. And I doesn't have problem with whether it's more or less. Once you have, let's spend it and let's use it. Because if you look at the history of a lot of these budgets, a lot of them, they're not using the money. And so we could still go and do comparisons and see what wasn't used, what wasn't used, what wasn't used. And if you're not using the money properly, when the time comes for money, what would happen to you is that another ministry who really know using it, well, I mean, as a manager, I will give those who execute in, right? But if you don't have the staff, which is the major issue, you would have some of those implementation problems. So I say this to say, recurrent expenditures, I doesn't really worry too much about that, because that's basically light bills, salary, and so on. I don't worry. It's the capital, how much money you're going to spend to get things done, to do things. And the significant injection, which is welcome, in the Ministry of Agriculture is the enhancing the food security project, which is really nice. And I think that within that context, when I look at the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance budget speech, you'd have elaborated on that use of that funds. However, Madam President, colleagues, viewers, listeners, I'm seeing in that speech $27 million, EC dollars. But I'm seeing in the budget document here 16 million. So there is a 10 million, if my maths work right, 10, 11 million that, yes, but I kind of understand maybe why it's not here. Because The question is, and maybe our leader of government should answer when he responds in his time. The question is, where is this money now? Is this money already in Grenada? Are we expecting this money in February, in March, in April? So then, depending on when we get it, we might only be able to spend half of it within this fiscal year. So I guess the rest, 10 or 11, will roll over into 2024. So that is my explanation for that. And that is okay, because depending on how it rolls out. So which brings me to the concern is, when will I get Christmas? When will this pre-Delasini, the farm machinery, all of those things, when can I start expecting? And you may say, well, what's the problem about that? The problem about that is that the word planning. So whilst the ministry was planning for the last 5-6 months, we have to be planning too, but right now we're not too sure when. And Brother Hammond, our business senator here, would know that more than me. Because if he have to do something in September next year, he have to get workers, he have to get his business plan, he have to get his approvals, and all of those things in place. So as the farmers and fishers, we need to have an idea when those things will happen, when to expect Christmas, such that we can plan. Maybe we need to go to the bank to get some other loans, maybe we need to travel, we need different things. So the issue of timing is very important in budgeting and planning. It's not only the money. And this I've made a lot of noise about in my previous sittings of this work plan and timelines. Because sometimes you get a budget, nice, and then all the activities end up in November. And then we say, oh, you have to roll over. So and there could be good explanations, and I think we all could understand with project planning, there are different cycles and so on. But we need to have an idea of that. So all I'm asking is for information. Madam President, so let's take a closer look inside our institution, inside our because it's ours, it's our farmers, the Ministry of Agriculture, and we are all one, and we are solving together. So I want to take a look at the issue of livestock, for example. We are very happy to know that new breeds will be coming in. This is good. A lot of livestock farmers are saying, I speak to a livestock farmer, they spend over $100,000 and something in goats. I don't think we all even understand that. One goat is about $30,000. That's a lot of money, because it's breed. When you watch some of those goats, they're tall, like almost like a calf, because we need to have good, and this, we want to commend the ministry for that. We want to ensure that there is close working with Carriacou, also, which is good for the livestock. In that, because a lot of time Carriacou tend to always be left out in the mix and kind of left on its own when, in terms of programs. Yes, they are on their own, but it must be integrated together. So this we commend. But at the same time, Madam President, a key problem that we have, that didn't come out, but I want that to be flagged, is an issue that I have been even addressing maybe 20 years now. The issue of dog predation. Dogs terrorizing the livestock. That to me is worse than when I call it's worse than the pre-Delasini where people go and thief to cabbage and lettuce and thief watermelon. Because it's life. People get so attached to the animals that sometimes they don't even want to kill it. And this to me is something that we need to fix. And this Dog Control Act, which basically is an act to put a tag around a dog to say they give it injection for rabies, that can work. So this, I think, needs a serious transformation. We need to do something about that. You're going to need a lot of consultation and discussion and dialogue. I know the folks at the GSPCA, I know they are very concerned about that themselves. The issue of the farm machinery, I'm very happy to hear that because this was closed down. I not to show who in a good mind could have sit down and closed down a farm machinery program. And our questions are they doing review. So we are very happy to hear that this will be back. You know, it will take a little while to identify the machine, etc. But in looking at the budget, I didn't see anywhere where that is factored in for where the money is linked to that part of the farm machinery. So this is a concern I have. I didn't see it in a line item, capital budget for machinery, so much for tractors. I didn't see that. So that's a concern we have. We are very happy to know, well, I don't even need to speak about that. The land use policy, that seems to be resurrected and is the new roadmap, Madam President. It's here. It's here, and here it's going to come soon. And we are very happy for it. Because that would also impact our whole food security. It's all about that. How we use land wisely. I don't want to deliberate more on that because it's there and I'm happy to see that. Right? This we could debate in a different space. I want to go a little bit closer with the agronomy division. The agronomy division, Madam President, is the lifeline. That is where all of our new seedlings and all of those things would be produced and so on. So we have to ensure that there is good support for the team there. Thank you. We have to ensure that there is good support for the team at the agronomy division. I know myself and the little government business in the pan distribution, we had a tour, we take a look, and I know he had some concerns of wanting to address those issues. So I really want to see that happen. But inside of that context, Madam President, the issue of the spice project, I want to spend 2 minutes, maybe half a minute on that, because spices is a major, Grenada Isle of Spice is a major income earner into this country. Cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, all of those combined. Great potential. And so, seeing some document as to where this thing is heading, I think is important. That we don't try to be a little bit too ambitious. But again, I looked at the budget. I say I'm not too sure because I was never good at numbers in school, Madam President. Never. But I'm seeing a zero, but a dash in the lineup because sometimes things doesn't line up properly. So I see a dash for spice replanting. But I see $1 million in 2024 and 2025, and I like to see the futures. So it means that the question is, how will 2023 be supported? These are questions. I don't know. There might be answers, which I know they should be. You know, sometimes documented editing. My good friend Peter Lassini also, I'm seeing dash. Farm road maintenance, dash. And I don't want us to lose sight of 20 farm roads was mentioned to be fixed. And I'm not too sure if those farm roads are within this SIAP project, either it's new farm roads, so it'll be good to get a list of these roads when we plant. Because again, if a road is inaccessible now, and I have lands there, and I know it's going to be fixed in 3 months' time, I could start mobilizing and getting ready to start occupying my land and doing things if I know the road will be fixed in 2-3 months. So we need to kind of get a sense, even if there is no money, I think there is a commitment because in the Prime Minister's, Minister of Finance budget speech, he spoke about that specifically. On the issue of the Peter Lassini, there was an innovative mention of using motorbikes. So, but again, I'm trying to figure out where in the budget this money is for these motorbikes coming out. So this is the kind of puzzling thing that's happening to me, Madam President. But it's a good idea. We're not saying no. That was it's a lot of gifts. A lot of gifts. In fact, I was speaking to a farmer only last night, and I said, no, it's very good saying. I said, well, maybe I need a few trucks to come down today and bring up those gifts. But I tell him, no, we have to wait for it to pass first, and there's a protocol. So hold on. Madam President, the issue of the produce chemist laboratory. You know, my first work in my life, that's many years ago when I was a very little boy. I worked in a produce chemist laboratory. That's where I worked as a laboratory technician, a chemist. Well, not a chemist, but working in the chemistry component. So I understand the intricacies inside there. In fact, I would say that the produce chemist laboratory is maybe doing 1%, despite all that I'm hearing there, knowing what I knew then, with much less resources in a smaller place. In fact, there's much more equipment, much more facilities. So I think that the produce chemist laboratory could do more. That's what I'm saying, can do more. And they need the support. Mr. Henry alone there as a chemist, and we have to do better. We must put some more persons there with him to be able to do more. At the back of the lab, there is a whole place where you can do, if you want to make juices or you want to do sauces, you can rent the place for a small fee and produce your stuff if you don't have a proper place in your home to do it as a cottage person. But you need people who are available. So this we want to commend, because the testing and the quality assurance of products, food products and all that, is very, 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 very important. Very important. Significant. Not only about the police part, but the food part, the testing part. Because other persons meet, they want to put the nutrition label on the thing, if they want to go international. All of those things, and we need to be able to build those capacities. So the support is needed, definitely there. The 4-H school garden, I'm not too sure, I've seen 0000000 forward 2014-2025, and I heard my dear Senator Andrew from Ministry of Education speaking out, we need to have more bilingual. But we want to get agriculture compulsory in the education system. I thought I was hearing that story. So we need to kind of put that there, but we need to support the 4-H. In fact, I gave a teacher a ride some months ago. She said, yeah, Daddy Senator. I said, nah, I tried to kind of fool her. She said, no, I'll see you on TV. She said, I have to talk about that, the 4-H, we need more support. So I come here now thinking she voice here, but she voice, Madam President, we need to do something for the 4-H. That is the same children that we're speaking about in the schools. So we want to see something there. The Agricom project, well, I know that because, I mean, where I work, we are direct beneficiaries, and I know this project's supposed to finish sometime early next year. So, but I'm seeing going into 2024, 2025. So just something to be flagged in the process. It's just a minor note, Madam President. I want to also, colleagues and Madam President, listeners, viewers, say something about connecting ministries. So, for example, the Ministry of Tourism, the issue of community tourism, I was happy to see about $1 million or so there. That we are very happy, because this would always provide more opportunity, especially once you have tourism, you have food. I've been calling for these things, that we need to remove a lot of these tourism activities from our coastlines, because it interferes with all our quality of sea and all of those things. I'm also happy to see CMOS entering the arena. CMOS, I heard this yesterday, because we have a group I've been working with. They are just about to register the Grenada Commercial CMOS Growers Association. So the whole issue of the regulations, the registration, the quality of all of those things, once we want to grow that industry, we are really on point, and I have a group working with, I know they are also being in contact with the ministry. We can do a lot of work there in terms of the marine life, while I'm at it. Also happy and extremely happy to see that finally the issue of the CITES regulation, which I've spoken about, I get fed up talking about it, Madam President. So I don't like somebody peeping. I don't know if somebody who peeping, but information circulating. The CITES is in the budget. So our divers, our land divers, and so on, they can able to make much more money from what they're making now. Because sometimes they have to go and find illegal ways, I will tell you, through the shoot to sell it for it to be exported. Now that this will be worked on, to get compliance, also the issue of the tuna. Also, I saw also there is also to do with the tuna regulation in terms of the conservation data. This we are very happy about. Of course, we have a lot of other things to deal with in fishing and so on, but these are very good observation. I heard as I was fishing, the issue of the jetty well, I shouldn't say the jetty. I shouldn't use the word jetty with St. Mark. I don't know how to describe it, but St. Mark's not having a jetty is better to put it, because if I say jetty with it, you may think jetty belongs, I just have jetty there. I was shocked. 3 fish markets. Of course, it's something that I've worked on. I've actually had a petition here. In fact, the Honorable Prime Minister, actually, during my walk on the ground, I would have encountered him during his own campaign, signing on to that petition. So I'm very happy. The records are here. And I heard my good friend, Brother Britton, speak about it. And we are all on the same page on that. We really need a motion that we debated here on that matter. And I heard he mentioned yesterday, Senator Britton, that some work seems so he need to find out, and I really support him there, and he need to push, and let's find out, because something need to happen up there, Madam President. Because what is happening in Victoria, the boats are small, and by the time they cannot come ashore, they have to sometimes take a small little, like a little dinghy, almost like a little tire they're sitting on in, to put a big long boat, tuna. By the time sometimes the tuna fall out, and they have to dive for it. This is true. This is experiences that was told to me. I went on the ground for that. And when you add up the landing sites and you collect the information that is happening in St. Mark, it's almost much more than happening in Guam and so on. So this is something that I really would be there side by side. The budget also mentioned a $300,000 for under fishing to support for fish export. It's very vague. I didn't see nowhere else how to connect to that. So this I would like to get some clarification, because the issue of airlift is a big issue for our exporters in fresh fruits and vegetables and fish. We have been losing a lot, and that is why, Madam President, the issue again of while the grass is growing, the horse is starving. And I don't know when the grass started to grow, but the grass continues to grow. And the point is that we need to address that. Yes, we need to speak of airlift with our tourists, but we need to find a mechanism how to address that and how to integrate so that these folks don't lose a lot of money in the country that we may invest in here because of airlift. We have had some recommendation that we have discussed with the previous government. This we can make available and have dialogues how we can look at it temporarily. All right? The issue of poultry, another big issue. Feed, big issue. Well, there's a meeting with Caribbean Agro. I don't know, the amount of meetings that happen with Caribbean Agro, Madam President, is like a convention every year that happening. Because they keep spinning us around. There's an agreement. We have debated it significantly here already in the House. That need to be reviewed. But sometimes you don't need to use force all the time, but we need to have some proper discussions. Otherwise, all the investment that we're thinking about in poultry will end up in problem. We would end up in, that is what they are saying, 60-70% of your feed. We can look at local ways, and there are other discussions I don't want to go into, take up the time here, but maybe investment in alternative approaches using the organics, which was being done already in Perseverance. They had a plan set up to mix the fish waste and so on as a supplement. It's something that we need to pursue. The land is government lands that these things are sitting on. So maybe we need to take it back and do something. The farmers involved and so on, we could discuss that further. But that is a big issue that we need to deal with. That poultry matter and the feed. And as the matter of using the word feed, I want to go over by the Ministry of Education a little bit. And I'm happy to see the rebranding and the reimaging, I can't pronounce those words properly, reimagining of the school feeding program. Because it's something that I'm close to. Because in my previous encounter, we had some folks from Brazil who came down here and we looked at a whole methodology. And we were deeply involved in that integration with the same food and nutrition. Myself and yourself, Madam President, sat on Zero Hunger Committee, looking at all of these type of things. So it's not, but there are issues inside administrative, which was said. And I really hope that we can do something and integrate those markets for the farm. In fact, as I mentioned the word market, Madam President, Rastafari, you have to go. Yes, we have a Rastafarian being give folks here. I know they want to hear about the marijuana. So even if over the time, I know Madam President will give you an extra 2 minutes that I talk about the marijuana. Right? Yeah, we have to talk about that. But coming back to the markets, Madam President, you see, we must not run. And our good friend, Minister of Florida Government Business said yesterday, we have to have proper marketing systems. And whether we like it or not, the MNIB as an instrument, if we have to fix it, let's fix it. If we have to hire proper people to run it and do what have to be done, let's do it. Because we could run away from it and still end up in food issues. And I'll tell you why. MNIB sits on the NAGMA, which is a National Disaster Management Agency, with the responsibility for ensuring food supply in this country in the case of disasters and natural issues. So let us not run, but let's fix it. Because in fact, Madam President, I can't show my phone logs, but I know you can investigate it. Farmers were calling me up to last night with breaking news. I say, why is it breaking news? They say, well, they understand that apparently there is some retrenchment that is pending to take place in the MNIB. I don't know. And I say, but how that could happen? I say, but no, they say, yeah. I say, well, we had a debate to look at the review of MNIB. So maybe MNIB was reviewed already and decisions were taken. I didn't get the impression that they plan to close down, they plan to reduce the services to our farmers. Because immediately, whilst we may think that losing a job is a loss of employment for a farmer, a fisher, loss of a market is loss of a job. Because we get paid, even if we get paid. The farmer work is to produce, and that is how he gets paid. So every market less he has, we are putting him on the breadline. So I hope that, I really do hope that that is really not true. That is a rumor, and of course, please. But that is an issue that we need to look at the MNIB and make it fit for purpose in the whole food system, and speak to the right people and put the right people in place to get those things done. People-centered. No. I think the spice need me more. Unless you plan to merge them too. I don't know, but we go talk. Well, you're in charge. But in fact, as the minister, as minister spoke, minister, not only leader of government business. No, you're saying correct. MNIB need to be integrated back under the Ministry of Agriculture, where it will be more fruitful and better service for the nation and its farmers. It will better all this program, enhancing food security, all of these things and them why would we not want to put it where it's supposed to be? Sometimes we like to talk, but we're afraid to do what is good. So I'm going to move a motion next time, and I want you to support it. Right? Okay. Okay. Madam President, all right. I also want to go over also. I would have spoken previously about the issue of intellectual property. Once we are in that moment, they say when you have it, go with it, go with the flow. Intellectual property. Seems to the next thing you want me to manage intellectual property too. Despite the debate and the outcome, which I really don't want to go into, because a debate is for the purpose of a debate and a discussion and a sharing of ideas. I'm very delighted. I was shocked. It was like about 1:30 Sunday night. I'm reading through the documents and I see 2 items on the list. Because what I do, I go through all the different ministries and look at the interconnect. And I see under the Ministry of Legal Affairs to develop an intellectual property policy and to also look at the legislation to pass in 2023. I don't know if it's only a late part, but I'm very, very happy. I'm knocking my own table because we've been calling for that. And I was saying, well, it can happen, you know, link, you know, thing, but research, I guess, shows that. Madam President, I want to move, there's two important points from Sister Gloria Thomas with the youth and the adult teen challenge, Mr. Jude Hector. I've been working closely with him. He is doing a very good job with the youth, the juvenile, and he's integrating them into agriculture. So that's why I get close to him. He actually reached out to me, the CMOS, this, and so, and he wants to do. It takes even if folks who was in the prison, they come out and they rehabilitate, they train. So I really, here we have a good role of partnership, and we need more of this type of things. So I mean, I'm wrong. I know what's going on. But, Madam President, before I go to some other things, I want to deal with the marijuana. And then I will come back in another space, because I don't want to hang them with too long.
Especially, Senator, that you have about little under 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, plus, so 15 plus, yeah. I would beg you for some more. Yeah, I would 15 and I will beg you for something. That's okay, that is good space. I work in good space. So, the marijuana issue, I want to speak on that because it's an emerging economy. It's an opportunity for Grenada. But at the same time, we have to be careful how it's been done. So, what I've done, previously I went into consultations, but I've spent some evening in the tabernacle within our Bingis in Sotes, and with a discussion for me to understand what really is this thing. So I went straight to the point at one stage. I said, well, we went to service. So we had the service and stuff, and then afterwards we had a discussion. And I say, so, like, a pound of weed go last you like for about like a month. They say, they say, no, they say, no, that will make out a week. I said, but what are you doing with the weed? And then when the education started, they say, watch, they make either tea, they put it in the baking, in the cooking, they make either wine, and all those things. And then immediately, so the point I'm trying to make is that we must not think about this thing about this marijuana and inabingia and all of those things. There were people who smoking the weed. But the operative grouping, I think, which the government is consulting with, they are not looking at that. They're talking about making value-added products and all of those things. So it's an engagement that needs to continue. And they're on the right track. But they have some issues. They need land, they need space to work. I know there have been discussion about that. So that they could have their own place, like down in Sasamane, in Ethiopia, where they dedicate that portion of land for them to live. And in that way, you could better manage things. But they are concerned. And I'm happy, that's why I went to the legal affairs first. that our marijuana don't get mixed up with crossbreeding with other type of strains that would come into this country. So they want to ensure that Grenada weed is protected and secured and can be of a higher value. And they call it a spice weed, I think how they call it. Right? So these are the type of involvement and education. And so I think that why the commission exists, Madam President, the commission need to be having some serious education, not just consultation, education of the people, so that we understand all the different parts of it. But also the issue of foreign investors, Madam President, might be coming in, and we need to know how much percentage we want some shareholding in that, so that this money don't just go back outside. We must be part and parcel, public, private, however it is, but they have to be. So I said to them, I say, you're organized, they tell me, they have a certificate, they register, they group in. So it's not no kind of fly-by-night people. They're well registered, well organized, and well mobilized. But I have some issues regarding the commission, Madam President. And I want to break my silence today, and this is for the first time, because I've remained quiet and I watched. You see, Madam President, our good National Development, Sustainable Development Plan 2025, I use this as my Bible. I think it's a good plan. We have to stick there, we have to review it and upgrade it as time to time. But it speaks about the same marijuana commission, you know. And when I looked at it, I feel very sad, because I know the framers of the commission using this National Sustainable Development, because I look at certain things. And interestingly, despite our eyes are farmers and so on themselves, but they are farmers, but they are Rastafarian community. The farming community, which has been identified as one of the members that should be involved in our commission, is blatantly left out, because it's very clear in the document. All the others' names and sectors that were listed as possible members, conference at churches, labor, all of them. But the farmer part is left out. And we're asking for this matter to be regularized. The farmers have interest in this business too. Marijuana is a crop, is an agricultural product. And in fact, the Rasta are looking for land. But the farmers have land already, and we left out. The commission, so unless we want to despise that page. So this is a clarion call for us to be there. Madam President, I want to address a few other matters. The issue of sugar. We talk about sugar. And this 20% VAT versus this 15% VAT. But before I go there, I want to just go backward to come forward. And I'll tell you why. I know we ain't going backward, but I'm stepping back, because issue of white potato as one of those priority crops. The root crop strategy and so on, I'm happy, good. But this white potato thing, we need to start fixing and doing better what we know how to do. If it's an experimental purpose, fine. But if it is part of the commercial space, that need to be clarified. Because white potato, Madam President, why is just we make out of it? The nutritionists around me start laughing. The same Food and Nutrition Council, Miss Betty Finley, may her soul rest in peace, teach me this thing, you know. She said white potato is high in something called glycemic index. So I'm not a nutritionist. And this is some chemical inside of this white potato, which we call Irish potato, that quickly metabolizes and can raise your sugar level so high that continued use can cause you to have this diabetes down the road. So it's not something that you really want to eat a lot of. So it's a one of warnings. But let's go back to sugar 20%. I am concerned about implementation and application, because we may say that, when it comes to these sugary drinks, if we want to reduce the amount of sugary drinks in this country, let's set the parameters, because there are standards. There are cross-skill standards, there are regional standards that will say the sugar in these beverages would be less than 2%, less than 20%. So we need to apply those, because even if you look at the import scheduling, it will tell you less than 20%. So we need to define how much percentage sugar, if we want this to be meaningful. Otherwise, I think it's just another tax. It's not going to achieve, as was manifested in the speech, the intention. I really don't think so. So it is a matter that we need to look at. And also, it's not only for import. We have to look at local, because the amount of local, not only local juices, but local beverages using sugar. So I think that we need to have a strategy how to address this thing. And not just put a tax on. Because it's look like a kind of oppressive tax for traders and others involved in that business. Right? So I think that matter need to be looked at seriously. Madam President, I also want to say that the framework of the budget, so I'm coming back now, in terms of the medium-term action plans and its connectivity with the National Sustainable Development Goals, I'm very happy to see the connect, because it's always good to keep those connections so that you can relate and you can see what is happening. So I'm very happy. And I wouldn't mention, because we all, the speaker, but it's the same activities in the different ministries, but how it's connected to different aspects of the plan. But there are two issues I want to raise that is in the plan, before I address two other issues to close the plan and close my presentation. It has to do with the issue of pre-licensing and the issue of driver's license. We want the youth to go into farming. Of course, I know the road's not there yet, so maybe that's why we don't really reach there yet. But our youth at 19 years could drive a pickup, They could drive a pickup, they want to go on the farm. They don't want to wait till 25 years and 26 years to get a license for a pickup, so that when they could go on the farm. They want to go on the farm since 19 years, driving the Navara or whatever it is, and go up on the farm. They want to able, the father will tell his son or the brother, take the pickup and go and collect the feed whilst we do this. That is a restriction. So you have to wait till, I think, 25 years before you could get a license, driver's license, that would enable you to drive a pickup, which is a good vehicle to go to your farm. So what we're calling for is for a review of this current situation, whereby we can reduce it down if it's to about 19 years, 18 years. But the people that are coming to me and tell me that they didn't realize, because people like, we take up this report, it's in the National Sustainable Development Plan, It's not rocket science, it is there as a recommendation, So I'm saying that if we go in deep, there are some low-hanging fruits. And I don't even call them hanging, I call them on-the-ground fruits that we could pick. And then the other one had to do with the issue of pre-licensing. And also, further to that, Madam President, that suggestion, I want a 2% commission on it. Because you know what the different rates of a driver's license, you pay more to the government for a driving license. So the government will get an income out of that methodology. The insurance companies may charge a little bit more insurance, but the government gets some money on the VAT end also. So that is, I'll give you for free. And then the other one also is the issue of the number plates. And St. Lucia, I know, has that methodology, and we could connect with our friends over there. That the farmers and fishermen, we can have them having an F on the plate. In fact, I was shocked one day that I see an H. I say, wow, we H come out. So it means that those flexibility do exist. And we can be transformed and reimagining those soft ways that we don't even have to worry about establishing fund. I don't even come to the Parliamentary fund. Because I don't want to talk about that. A different discussion. So I think that we need to look and see if we could have the farmers, fishers with an F. It could do a lot of things. For example, in the cases of, like when we had lockdown, in the cases of roadblocks, in the cases of pre-licensing monitoring, once the F is on those vehicles, whether it's FT, FA, whatever it is, then it also links back to your concessions. So for example, farmers, you may decide to give farmers a rebate on certain concession with fuel. So when they go to the pump, you could seize the F something, whatever it is. So I think this is something that need developing on. So I wanted to share those two transformative ideas with my colleagues. Madam President, two last things. The one before the last is connected to this 2035 plan. The 2035 transformation, sorry, not transformation, but National Sustainable Development Plan, which is a transformative plan to transform the country, speaks about it cannot implement itself. And I spoke about that in last budget debate, last year. But I want to come back with it because I see we're getting closer to things aligning it. And one of the key points on page 108 in this plan is the establishment of, page 113 of the plan. They speak about the Sustainable Development Institute of Grenada being established. And this institute, which is basically like a commission, going to be the one looking at the implementation of the plan, providing the support to the different ministries. But it is not just, it is again a multi-sectorial, private sector, labor, everybody. Consider churches, NGOs involved in this monitoring because it's our plan. Remember where I started? It's our plan. And so I would like to see us move very swiftly between the first quarter or so, because I would bring a motion to debate that if we're not moving quick enough. We need to establish, because that is in the plan, and we adopt the plan, and we have the plan, and we like the plan. We have things decided that we want to see done. And what the plan is saying, the plan itself is saying, the public service management system, can't really think it. So let me set up that. And that committee, that commission, is accountable to Parliament, as it says here. The SDA will jointly be funded by government and external partners, and the Speaker is reporting to Parliament. So this is something I would like to see. And then in closing, Madam Minister, Madam President and colleagues, I want to say thank you so much to some colleagues out in, I call them colleagues out in Ministry of Finance, Ms. Britton, Dr. Grenade, Ms. Ruth Roberts, who in the preparation of the agriculture component of the budget would have had some consulted with me how we plan, organize to get the feedback from the farmers, the fishers, the agro-processors. And I would say that the outcome from that was extremely good. And I must say that I've listened to their leader of government business, and I hear a lot of what we say, the agro-processing unit, which I think he mentioned about within the ministry for the value added support. So we like what we heard. We're looking forward to collect the presents as soon as possible. And I want to say also that I want to wish all of Grenada, a Merry Christmas. I know we may speak about that in the adjournment, but I want to say it now. All the farming community, I know you have struggled. I want to make sure that you have enough food and so on to feed us, that we can eat more of our local foods. Let us help to make it more affordable, working with the government. We can only be patient for so long, but we are very happy with the words. What we want to see now is the physical thing. I thank you.
I thank you, Honorable Senator Roderick St. Clair, for your presentation, and I encourage the conversation, as you suggested, to keep going. The floor is now offered to Honorable Senator Jonathan Lacrette, also Minister of Health. Senator Lacrette.
Madam President, fellow senatorial colleagues, warmest salutations is extended to all of you. Psalms 127:1. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain that build it. I mention this portion of scripture because Christ is the architect of my life. I love him dearly, and I live my life according to his statutes and according to his laws, so that he may be pleased with my life. With that being said, thanks, praise, honor, glory, majesty, power, and dominion is due him this morning from me, because he is responsible for me standing here this morning. I also want to express my gratitude to our Honorable Prime Minister for the opportunity to sit over the health sector as the policymaker and to be responsible for marshalling and championing the strategic priorities for healthcare. My family, my wife, and 2 children, I call them Bonnie and Clyde, because sometimes they can be extremely troublesome. But Kaya Elise and Jonathan Jr., I want to give God thanks for both of them. My ministerial colleagues, cabinet colleagues, the bond that we have developed over the past couple months, notwithstanding the fact that most of us have known each other from the public service years before. But the bond that we have is not natural. It's spiritual. And I don't know anything that is spiritually bonding can be easily broken. It's strong, it's potent, it's genuine, it's authentic. And I pray by God's divine grace throughout our tenure for the term in government that we keep it that way. My staff at the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and Religious Affairs, I see a few of them here this morning supporting, thank you. Clinical staff, medical staff, administrative staff, managerial staff. I must pause, however, Madam President, to say thank you to my, almost sound like a goodbye speech, but to say thank you to my 3 permanent secretaries who holds the responsibility for general health and administration, also for hospital and community services, as well as wellness and religious affairs. I depend and lean on them very heavily, and I thank them for the tremendous support that they have provided over the past 6 months or so. Vision 2035, people-centered transformation, laying the foundation for resilience, empowerment, and growth. Not just a timely vision, Madam President, but a vision that will transcend the knowledge and practices of generations to come. Madam President, when this vision was spoken approximately a week ago by Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, as he presented the financial plan for the future of this country for a set period of time, we sat and we anticipated what will comprise our revenue generating streams and what will be proposed for the sectoral spending ceilings for the fiscal year. Madam President, based on the economic tide, the budget may experience a degree of vertical or horizontal shifts. Government's financial plan, Madam President, is rooted in the philosophical belief of people-centeredness. As such, the financial budget for the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and Religious Affairs is grounded in the philosophy, humanity in health. I want to repeat that for emphasis. And I want my colleagues to follow, because I need them to understand as I build my narrative. The philosophical belief that the budget for the Ministry of Health is grounded on for the year 2023 is humanity in health. This said philosophy undergirds government's policy agenda. It is based on this philosophy, Madam President, that our new mission and vision for the health sector was crafted. Vision: to become the healthcare capital of the Eastern Caribbean. Mission: transforming healthcare through strengthening systems, building resilience, health diplomacy, and compassionate care. It is in the spirit, Madam President, of this new mission and vision, or if you may, thrust, that I rise to give credence to the national budget, as well as to the budget that will underpin the operations of the health sector for 2023. Madam President, as I continue to build my narrative, I must inform you that on the international front, global health issues emphasize transnational issues. From pandemics to achieving equity and quality in healthcare services, from non-communicable diseases to food security supply, they all form part of an interdisciplinary mechanism or collaboration that promotes modern global health practices. Regionally, Madam President, CARICOM OECS member states are just beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel from the human, social, and economic challenges posed by the global pandemic. Thus, Madam President, given the fragility of some of our healthcare infrastructure in the Caribbean region, the following is urgently needed. 1, a revised approach in strategic planning for the management of infectious disease, regional responses in collective issues that bind us together, a more cohesive network to strengthen our immunity to the increased prevalence of NCDs, and regional collaboration on supply chain issues that we have common interest in. Globally, regionally, locally, Madam President, tabled in government's transformation agenda is its #1 policy priority and mandate: healthcare. With a budget of $114.2 million, an increase of $17.2 million as compared to 97 million that was allocated, in 2022, 94 million in 2021, 89 million in 2020, 87 million in 2019, and 82 million in 2018. I just gave you a 5-year span of health budgetary allocation. Government is not a wealth-generating entity, Madam President. Higher government spending will also have an impact on the supply of the economy. As a business major, Madam President, I submit to you that depending on which area government's spending is increased, if spending is focused on improving infrastructure, this could lead to increased productivity and growth in the long-term aggregate supply. If spending is focused on welfare benefits, Madam President, or pensions, it may reduce inequality. But to be fair and balanced, Madam President, it could also crowd out the more productive private sector investments. So that is where government must create the balancing act. When you look at the economics of health, you must understand, and you would realize, that mental and physical health is important to individual well-being, and public health is fundamental to the stable, cohesive society, to developing stable, cohesive societies. Both lend themselves, Madam President, to efficiency, effectiveness, value, and behavior in the consumption of health and healthcare. In other words, Madam President, no economy can grow beyond the quality of its healthcare service. I want to repeat that for emphasis. No economy can grow beyond the quality of its healthcare service and the general well-being of its people. As such, Madam President, the health sector is essential to a stable, functioning economy. Yes, the emergency sector is critical to a stable, functioning economy. So from a social perspective, Madam President, health's budgetary allocation of $114.2 million will play a major role in reducing social exclusion due to the impacts it will have on employment. The new teaching hospital, the new hospital, the current reconstruction of over 5 medical stations, all with an employment-generating impact. The wellness factor, Madam President, from a social perspective, the budget will enable us to upgrade our primary healthcare infrastructure so that we can control the prevalence of NCDs, whose presence within our healthcare system is weakening economic productivity. And I want my fellow senatorial colleagues to understand, Madam President, members in the other place are wondering why the increased VAT on sugar. I want them to hear me. We are not looking at it from a fiscal perspective merely, Madam President, but from a health and wellness perspective. We cannot afford, Madam President, to run the health sector on hullabaloo and emotional tantrums. Bring the health ministry the data. Bring the health ministry the research. Bring the health ministry the facts. Approximately 83% of deaths in Grenada is attributed to non-communicable diseases, with a 23% probability of premature mortality from NCDs. World Health Organization Progress Monitor Report 2022. The situation is dire. We must start somewhere. The very same Food and Nutrition Council, through you, Madam President, to my honorable senatorial colleague, have been doing multiple campaigns over the years. I don't know if they still do, but over the years of being in the teaching service, they have collaborated with education on multiple promotional educational campaigns about type 1 diabetes, about type 2 diabetes. Our people do not listen, Madam President, until they end up in the hospital and a foot must be cut or fingers are lost. So as a government, we sat. We don't sit in cabinet and share makeup tips. We deliberate genuinely for the benefit of our people. And where we see this heading with an 83% mortality rate, a drastic decision had to be made. We educate about HIV/AIDS all the time. Ministry of Health distribute condoms. Even to school some time ago when I was in the education system, and there was a hullabaloo about it because we saw that there was an increase in sexual promiscuity. And even with the distribution of condoms and the education of HIV/AIDS being out there, people still behaving like rabbits. So at this juncture, our administration decided to raise the VAT on sugar. In fact, Madam President, the research will show that the very same people who end up at our health centers and who end up in the general hospital, re-NCDs, or diabetes, hypertension, is the very same poor and vulnerable individuals that my fellow opposition colleagues have so cited. Madam President, Madam President, in this local context, I want you to understand that from an economic perspective, Madam President, health's budgetary allocation of $114.2 million will have a positive impact on the economic performance of all other sectors in the national economy through the jobs it will generate and from the purchase of goods and services. Madam President, colleagues, every health sector is underpinned by strategic pillars. As such, if we must be aggressive about transforming the health sector, we must have a reformative posture. So we cannot transform the healthcare sector, Madam President, with consistent hemorrhaging in our nursing stock. We cannot transform the healthcare sector with poor infrastructure at our 4 major hospitals and health centers. We cannot transform our health sector in midwives. Last time being trained was 2016. We now have a batch of nurses training to be midwives after 2016. We cannot transform our health sector with disrupted supply chain management systems, with a deficit of over 25 specialists needed to bolster our medical skills gap capacity. Poor technological infrastructure, neglect and non-existent value for our workers, low training capacity, a psychiatric hospital that is on life support. And I am sure some of you have been privy to the recent video or video clipping that GBN just did. The workers are protesting. And that is why training is necessary, because the individuals who were hired and came into our system are treating our local clinicians, healthcare practitioners, I'm not going to use that term in this honorable house, in a way that is not fitting to be treated by a human. So, developing the capacity within is important so that we don't necessarily have to always look without. Because when they come in, there is a level of superintendence and superiority that is placed over our people because they know we need them. So they leverage that need with disdain and disgust. But it will stop, Madam President, because we must, at some particular point in time, develop our own people to sit in the driver's seat of our transformative agenda for healthcare. We cannot transform our healthcare sector, Madam President, without a wellness center and a rehabilitative clinic. Oh God, Madam President. Even Ray Charles can see that the budget is warranted. Madam President, we have allocated over $3.4 million in filling the skills gap within our Ministry of Health, with 21 new positions to be filled. In the other place, about a week ago, it was noised that these new positions are going to create some issues for our health, for our public service. IMF was mentioned, etc. And I know that officials at the Ministry of Finance are concerned about the 9% of GDP that we should not go over, etc. We applaud their efforts, Madam President. Public servants work hard. But, Madam President, you can't run the health sector without an epidemiologist. Post-vacant. We applaud the Ministry of Infrastructure and Works. The engineers work hard. So many schools to build, reconstruct, that when we need them, sometimes we have to wait weeks and months before works engineers can respond to us. We appreciate them, but we need our own facility manager and maybe our own engineer. Because in the emergency sector, a minute too late means death. And as a result of this, these 21 positions are warranted. 3.4 million, Madam President, no comparison to years before. And this allocation deals with people-centeredness. Madam President, excuse my theatrics a bit, but it is coming from a genuine place. And I am just absolutely flummoxed at the fact that whenever development is mentioned in the other place, it is always, or let me rephrase that, most times synonymous with infrastructure. But never people development or people-centeredness. The component is non-existent. And I say that from listening very keenly to past debates and conversations. And it's almost as if people development is a subscript appendage to their agenda. Madam President, we have also allocated $500,000 EC dollars to the Wellness and Religious Affairs portfolio. This portfolio is critical to the health and transformation agenda, Madam President, because mental and physical health is important to the overall quality of healthcare. This department will have a religious affairs officer who will assist that department in the execution of the social transformation through faith-based programs and projects. We have also allocated $187,000 in training in specific areas of our health sector as compared to the mere meager $53,000 in 2022. This is so because, Madam President, many of our capital projects, they come with a training component. So many of our healthcare practitioners will be trained under these project components. Madam President, upskilling and reskilling, especially in the healthcare sector, seeing that it is a competency-based profession, whether you're a nurse, whether you fall under the Allied and Professional Healthcare Council, whether you fall under the Dental and Medical Council, whether you fall wherever, it is a competency-based profession. People must be trained. So reskilling and upskilling is critically important. And though we have components of projects and training attached to them, we have still allocated $187,000 for the training of various personnel in the healthcare sector. Madam President, over $300,000 for the construction of a new teaching hospital, at least phase 1, no comparison. Over $5 million, Madam President, allocated for the first phase of the new climate smart, climate resilient hospital. I want to emphasize that again, it's just not a hospital. It's a climate smart, climate resilient hospital. I applaud members on the other side and the previous administration for some of the good works that they have done. But I just can't fathom, Madam President, that if the facts are before you as to what condition the healthcare sector is in, I just don't understand how have you not championed the cause for a new hospital? I say that because you cannot speak health sector modernization without a brand new climate smart, climate resilient hospital. We have recognized the need for such, and as a result, we have budgeted for at least the first phase of the construction of this hospital. The budgetary allocation of $4.2 million through the disbursement of a $500 honorarium to our nurses, no comparison, Madam President. And I'm going to park here for a while. Madam President, our nurses are the substratum of our healthcare sector. Thus, administration, Madam President, as an administration, we do not have the time for bare Nancy pageantry. The $500 honorarium was not given to trick, coerce, mama guide our nurses. If we wanted to do that, we would have given them $5,000. Plus their uniform allowance back. And traveling. Add a staycation if you want to. But Madam President, we understand that from a cabinet perspective, there is a collective responsibility upon all of our heads as cabinet ministers. And this collective responsibility drives the decision-making process in that decision-making room. And I championed, together with some of my colleagues, for that $500 honorarium. Because, to me, it was an apology to our nurses for being called chicken thieves. 1. 2, to me, it was an apology also for the way that they have been treated over the past few years. Devalued, disdained, lack of compassion, and I can go on. So, Madam President, the olive branch was extended to them so that they can feel valued, appreciated, loved. And though budgetary constraints may not allow us to go beyond what we have given them now for the next year while government works through its regularization framework, it was to show to them that we are thinking about them, that we hear their cries, we know their pains, and that we are right there with them as a health ministry and as a health sector. It was our olive branch to say to them, we need you. You cannot leave. If you go, our health sector is finished. We understand that you want upward mobility. We have not been able to provide that through successive governments over the years. We know you want betterment for your family. You want your son to go to university, your daughter to attend college. You want to purchase a house. You want a better lifestyle. We are working on how we treat you in 2023 moving forward. But the olive branch was extended to say to them that you can't leave us at this critical juncture in our healthcare cycle. And I'm going to say it again. Nurse, we need you. Doctors, the situation is not of the best. We understand that. But hear the cry of your minister. If you leave, we are crippled. If you leave, we are doomed. Give us the opportunity to value you and to show you that you mean something to our system. Though the focus is on nurses, Madam President, it does not necessarily mean that the other professions that comprise the healthcare sector would be neglected. And I want to assure them that it may be nurses today and it will be you tomorrow. It's just that this is where the bulk of the bleeding comes from. And opposition senators, my dear colleagues, may say, is that going to stop the nurses from leaving if they've made up their minds? I don't know. But it was worth a try, showing them that they still have value to the development of Grenada's healthcare sector. I want to point to, Madam President, our radiology unit that is now up and running. And before I point to others, I want to pause and express sentiments of congratulations and thank you to the new National Party government for the new wing that we are now occupying at the General Hospital. We have been able to ensure that the radiology unit is up and running, moved from where it was to the new part of the building. Our nephrology unit, though we have some challenges, we are working on it, is up and running by and large. And our accident and emergency is not in full flight as yet. They have moved to the new space just to ascertain some operational maneuvering so that when we fully launch in January of 2023, there will be nothing missing or no gaps exposed, but they'll be functioning effectively and efficiently. Madam President, nurses started calling me Nicodemus, because when I visit the hospital, I would visit at 2 and 3 in the morning. And there was a particular reason for that, checking on the night staff, ensuring that they ate, that they're okay, etc. Because I believe that compassionate care is something that has been missing from our healthcare sector. I guess thus I'm here. Nevertheless, Madam President, I visited one ward, one nurse to 6 patients. She said, Minister, I appreciate the fact that you're here, but I can't study you now. And I said, oh, no, I'm just passing. You just go ahead and do your do. She was under pressure. One man was calling her here, the other one crying for their medication. The next one saying his foot hurting him. The next one needing pressure. And moving expeditiously from one bed to the next, servicing all 6 patients at the same time. There is a need to bolster our skills gap or our human resource capacity in every aspect of healthcare. The Westerhall Medical Station is currently under construction. Princess Alice Hospital, the minor surgery operating theater, is going to receive $116,390 for that surgery operating theater. The neonatal intensive care unit at the General Hospital, 80,000 EC dollars would be allocated. These are falling under special projects, Madam President. The replacement of windows and doors, phase 1, General Hospital, 230,000 EC dollars. So as we enter into negotiations for a brand new climate smart, climate resilient hospital, minor repairs will be done to the existing or current space at the General Hospital to make habitation conducive, Madam President. The nursing staff room at Princess Alice Hospital, 204,872 EC dollars. It is currently complete and to be commissioned, shortly. Madam President, in my discourse, am I offering our nation a quick fix, microwavable solution to our healthcare problems? Absolutely not. However, with prudent planning, fiscal responsibility, and judicious decision-making, I believe that our healthcare sector is due for improvement. As it relates to the Ministry of Health, Madam President, we sat, and I share my heart with my team. And we desire to have a singular focus moving forward for the next term. So as of 2023 will be branded as the year of mental health and wellness. A lot of the things that we do under that year is going to speak to mental health and wellness. So we're going to first start with national consultations in every parish on mental health and wellness, and constitute panels that will be able to speak to such. But the consultations, they are geared towards legislative reform. We have a Mental Health and Wellness Act of 2006. Some amendments were made in 2008, but we are now, Madam President, swiftly moving into 2023, and there are some components of the legislation that will definitely need to be reformed. The year 2024 to 2027, tentatively, will be known as the year of health sector modernization. So under that broad categorical heading, 24 might be the year of health sector, digital technology, etc. But that broad categorical heading is going to remain for 2024 to 2027. However, subheadings will definitely drive the vision for the years. Madam President, we are currently working in consultation on a national health insurance framework. By the way, Madam President, NHI is not an NNP initiative. It's not. It was alluded to in the other place a day ago, but it's not. We continued from where the Tillman-Thomas administration left off in 2013. Former President of the Senate can give you more information on that because he had oversight for the committee. Madam President, we are also moving towards modernization of our medical records through technology, the accreditation of our hospital laboratory. SGU has given their commitment to collaborate with the Ministry of Health and return to our communities as we build a stronger primary healthcare structure, which underpins one of our ministry's goals for 2023, which is to build primary healthcare teams in at least 2 parishes. Cabinet has also approved the formation of NHAC, the National Health Advisory Council, and I call them the MIT of the healthcare sector. Cabinet has also approved the formation of GDAC, and GDAC was established to maintain diaspora relations with the objective of strengthening regional and international cooperations. And their first pilot ministry will be the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and Religious Affairs. Their purpose is to establish a network of Grenadian professionals to serve as advisors in key strategic focus areas to advance government's transformative priorities. Cabinet has also approved the appointment of a global health ambassador. And just before my opposition colleagues jump on the moving train of jobs for the boys, the ambassador, Madam President, is not being paid. His work is voluntary. Health diplomacy, Madam President, in the current status quo, the importance of global health diplomacy is paramount. It means dual goals of improving health while strengthening relations among nations. In such a worldwide crisis, during the pandemic of COVID-19, enhancement of international cooperations will result in faster and more efficient utilization of our available resources. Madam President, the transformation is a generational cry for liberation. Time demands it. The transformation is a generational cry for liberation. Time demands it. History compels it. My administrators, policymakers over the health sector understand that from a fundamental place, it is not time to play games with the health care of our people. As such, we are being religiously prudent about the decisions we make over health care. We could have sat, Madam President, and said, you know what? Leave those 21 positions vacant. Let's work with what we have and see how we make it. But to fill those critical skills gap is directly proportional to building our healthcare economy for a better Grenada. Madam President, as I close, many stories come out of various aspects of our healthcare sector. Gruesome deaths, parents, loved ones wanting to sue because they feel some level of malpractice took place. People being contentious about the quality of delivery of healthcare. And I can go down the 9 yards of cloth. But parallel to the challenges, Madam President, you will find some praises being given to doctors and nurses for the stellar work that they do in the healthcare sector. By saying this, I mean, the system is not perfect, Madam President. And even moving forward, I am not offering a perfect healthcare sector. But by God's divine grace, some things will change. The changes will be noticeable, and the people will be better for it. Because we have made the decision to be judicious and prudent as to how we treat the life of every Grenadian citizen. Humanity in health is what our mantra is going to be and look like as we champion the cause for a better healthcare sector. Thank you.
I thank Senator Lacrette, Minister of Health, for his exposition on the allocations of 2023 for his ministry, with conversation on the estimates for both revenue and income and revenue and expenditure in your sector. Thank you, sir. Honorable members, it's 12 noon, and I would propose, since we have only 3 presentations left for the afternoon, that we suspend, have a normal lunch hour in keeping with our health and wellness application to ourselves here, that we have our lunch at 12 noon, and that we return to commence at 1. Enjoy your lunch. Enjoy the conversation that would have emerged from this morning and that which is to come in the afternoon. As we depart, I would like to extend condolences to the family of our former resident tutor at the T. Marisho building, but UWI campus here in Grenada. That's Mrs. Beverly Steele, who passed during the night. So we, as a national author on Grenada and educator, public servant, we wish to thank her for her sterling service in education in Grenada. I see the Leader of Opposition is taking the floor. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam President. With your announcement on the sad passing of Mrs. Steele, I want to suggest that the House stand for a moment of silence to recognize such. That will be my recommendation. Thank you.
Agreed. We stand. A moment of silence in honor of Beverly Steele, former resident tutor at the University of the West Indies campus here in Grenada. Thank you.
Madam President. Madam.
Senator Lewis.
Thank you, Madam
Please
President. I think it would be remiss of me if we do not bring to the attention of this House and nation the passing of a former Commissioner of Police, Major Ian St. Bernard, the youngest police commissioner in the history of Grenada. We ought to acknowledge the contributions that he has made to Grenada. I think it was only fitting to so do.
Thank you, Senator Lewis. And we stand for a minute
Thank
of
you.
silence.
Thank you very much.
Former Commissioner of Police, Senator Ian St. Bernard, Major. Yeah. May their souls rest in peace, and may their service be of continued value and be remembered. Please be seated. Dear honorable members, the question is that the Senate House be adjourned until 1 p.m. in the afternoon. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? The House is adjourned.